news. Today we'll be talking about League of Legends, a new handheld console, Watchdogs 3, and Sony. Now let's jump right into some news. So it sounds like there is a League of Legends for mobile in development, which is bringing this big, really popular Dota to... I messed up. It's MOBA, I think. Not Dota, because Dota's a game. So it sounds like there is League of Legends mobile in development, and why not? Because every other big multiplayer game is now coming to mobile, because we're in that time where it's almost to the time where we could put console-esque games onto our mobile devices. And games like this, they don't take a lot of hardware needed to run it. So smartphones nowadays have just enough to where they can get by with good enough graphics to where it won't be terrible. Plus, with the new 5G that's coming out, they'll have much better connections to the servers and way less lag for these online multiplayer games. So I'm not surprised that League of Legends is coming to the mobile. The only problem is trying to figure out controls to go with it, and you're probably going to need a controller of some sort, because it might be too hard to play on touch controls, or however that's actually going to work. So we'll have to wait and see if this actually comes and pans out as a actual thing. So the Playdate is this new black and white console that has a crank on it, and it fits in your pocket because it's a mobile device. Apparently it's coming out, and it's made by the people who made a game that I can't think of without looking at the screen, so I fucked up. Firewatch is what it is. So the publisher that brought you the game Firewatch is now making a mobile device, or a handheld console, depending on how you want to call it. Why would I call it a mobile device? It's not a mobile device, it's a handheld console. The publisher that brought you Firewatch is now making a handheld console called the Playdate, which is in black and white, fits in your pocket, and has a crank on it, I guess. So I guess they're making some type of handheld console. Not sure why. Something like this just seems so cheap, and I don't know why there's some crank on it or something. Maybe that's to charge the battery. I don't know. There's not a lot of information on it. There's a picture at least that you can see. It's I don't know why they're doing black and white. It's simple controls. It's kind of like if you take the original Game Boy and made it today. Yeah, I don't know how it's supposed to compete with the Nintendo Switch and everything it's got going for it. Plus the PlayStation Vita, even though it's basically dead, it still seems to be 10 times better. And your phone is better than it, but I'm not sure why, but they're doing it, so it's a thing. Just kind of hard to wrap my head around something like this nowadays from someone I've never heard of. So I'll have to wait and see when it comes out and see what all it entails. So there's a leak going around that the protagonist of Watchdogs 3 will be a female instead of a male like the last two, or the first two. And which is great because they're getting more diversity. And a lot of the games nowadays, still most of the games of the whole generation, or since games came out, have been mostly centered around male protagonists. I mean, there's been some females, like Tomb Raider, the only one that really comes to mind. And there's probably more out there. Oh, you got a Metroid Prime, but for a long time I didn't even know that was a female. Yeah, for sitting here and thinking of it, those are the only two I can think of. So having more games where you play a female, which is great, because They need more enlightened in the world and more emphasis in games, I guess. You can comment down below what other games are have female protagonists, because it's the only ones I can think of right off the top of my head. So I'd like to know from you guys. So can't wait to play Watch Dogs 3. We know it's coming. Might be announced at E3 with everything we've been getting, and plus Ubisoft has 3 unannounced AAA games coming before March of 2020. So this is probably one of the games that will be coming out around this holiday, which is great. I love the Watchdogs series. It's really, frankly, the only thing I play from Ubisoft at the moment. So you got that going for me. So yeah, female protagonist, probably likely to be in Watch Dogs 3. Sony is now putting an emphasis on buying other studios to bolster their line of first-party titles for the PlayStation 5, because their first-party titles have been lacking. Not saying that there hasn't been a lot, but there hasn't been that significant amount where they want to be at that will get more people to come to their console because of those first-party titles. So you can't just have good hardware and a cheap price to get people to come to your console. You have to have those hard-hitting first-party titles to get people to want to buy your box to play those games. Otherwise, they'll go to your competitor, because over the last I think it's been 2 years since Microsoft has started buying all these smaller studios that make great games and put them under their Xbox Studio, I think it is, or Microsoft Studio, not sure what it's called. And they got like, I want to say 8 now, and Sony's now getting on that same board and gonna start buying some of these smaller studios that make great games to help bolster their first-party titles for the PlayStation 5, to get more people to buy the PlayStation 5 that wasn't part of the PlayStation 4. Plus, they're making the PlayStation 5 backwards compatible, so that would get you all those great games back too from the PlayStation 4. But notable thing to say is that Insomniac Games did just work with Sony in making the exclusive Spider-Man game. They did last gen, or current gen I should say at the moment, worked with Microsoft on, I can't remember exactly what the name is, I'll pop it up, but some game that came out like right at launch or just after. So they are independent and they do work both sides, but you never know, they couldn't end up possibly picking them up since they recently worked with it. That's the only one that really comes to mind. Nothing else really is out there that I could think of that they might pick up, but you never know who they could buy. There's a lot of small obscure studios, into some indie studios they could pick up, so we'll have to watch out and see when they announce that they're going to be buying some other people, because the PlayStation 5 is probably going to come out, and according to them, it's not coming out for about a year, so probably 2021, end of 2020. The PlayStation 5, Xbox 2 is probably coming out next year, most likely, because that's when Halo's coming out, most likely, and it's going to be cross-gen. So the PlayStation 5 is either coming out early in 2021 or holiday of 2020, which sounds about right, because it sounds like that at the Xbox will be announced at E3, but you never know what could happen, you know? It could come out early next year, and bam, there it is. It's all speculation at this point, but all we know is that Sony's trying to bolster their first-party titles, because it's been lacking, and some of them haven't been too great. So kudos to you, Sony, for jumping on the board and getting more first-party titles. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. It lets us know that you like the content that we make here. Also, comment down below what you think of what studios Sony might pick up in the future, or what they could be looking at as towards acquisitions. Also, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, support us on Patreon so you can bring videos like this, and videos on our other channels. Also, go to teespring.com, purchase some merch, post on social media, and let us know that you are a true fan.